Let's start her up in performance, eh? Oh yeah, baby. Good morning, people. Yes, it's Friday again. Saturday, Sunday, wood. Oh, it's the weekend tomorrow. Right, let's put her back in auto. Heated seater on. It is 7 degrees, so it's not that cold. It's a dull morning, a little bit of rain. But it's been raining all night, so the roads are wet. And yeah, I'm going a bit further to work than usual. Tell you what, the seats do heat up very quick. I've had them on what for about a minute or so. They're already warm. Might be less in a minute. I've got a blow my nose this morning, I do apologise. My eyes are sensitive in the morning. They always water. Very sensitive in the morning. Ugh. I've been awake for an hour, so I haven't just got up. Bit of light. So in about 4 weeks' time, I got a floor rider. Woohoo! For my 40th. So I'm looking forward to that with the missus. We've booked to stay on iDrive. I think it's iDrive. International Drive, I think it is. I've been to America a few times, quite a few different places, but I've never been to Florida. So looking forward to Orlando Studios, because I was born in the 80s, obviously grew up, like as I can remember, in the 90s. I loved all, like Arnold Schwarzenegger was my favourite actor growing up. I loved him. Like Terminator 2 is my favourite film ever. And I know they've got the rides there, or whatever they have for Terminator 2, so I hope that's still there. And the attractions and stuff. I don't know, when you get a little bit older, I'm not really fussed on, I don't like, if there's rides there, I'll go on them. Nothing, I'm not really scared of much in life, but I'll go on them. Happy to do all them, but I'm more like looking at stuff now. But what's that? Is it Universal Studios? I'm not bothered about Disney World. That's more for kids. I'm not bothered about that. What else? We were talking about Cheesecake Factory last night. I went there in Vegas with some mates, and I can't really remember what it was like. But I've watched a couple of videos of people talking about how mint it is and what you can get and all that sort of stuff. So definitely have to pop in the Cheesecake Factory. When you go on holiday, you just, you're eating habits of what you want to eat and that's sensible. Oh, don't move then, buddy. No, there's nothing in the right lane, but don't move, and then I'll slow down. Like like what you were taught to drive and give way in that. Cheers, bud. Fucking gimp. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big lad anyway. I do like my food, but it used to drop off me. I like to say, I used to play football so many times a week. I used to be as thin and as fit as a rake. But then when you have 2 knee surgeries and then other complications, and then my back's absolutely goosed over the years from work and other bits and bobs that yeah, we soon stop doing it. Soon. Oh yeah. Sorry, it's 2 pounds on, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. But yeah, looking forward to going there and experiencing all of that. The canny HGV. Bloody roadworks, man. The signs are there, the speed cameras are there, everything's there, but the workers. So, roadworks have been going on for a good 6-7 months. I've seen roadworkers twice. All I do is yawn. All I do is yawn until I get to work, and then it's like, right, switch off. Like they're yawning. Is anyone else like this when you get, or do you just, once you're in the car, you're awake, you're like, yeah, good. Yeah, it's not, I don't dislike the place I work. I don't dislike the people at all. My job's fine. It's just I hate working. I've got to 40 and I'm ready to retire already. I used to be in the motor trade for 15 years, so I remember I didn't have a sick day for 15 years when I had surgery on my legs, broke my I done my Achilles tendon on one side, my ACL on one leg. I can tell I didn't like it on the other leg. I never once took a sick day. I only put a few days holiday in, went to work on crutches. When you're a salesman, like if you're not at work, you don't make money. You have to turn into a bit of a selfish person, and it's very much dog eat dog. Very much dog eat dog. And yeah, you have to have the mentality that if you're not at work, you're not making money. So at times when it comes to being on holiday, you resent being on holiday, even though you shouldn't do. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If you're good at your job, it turns you into a bit of a dick, really. Only not outside of work, but it doesn't help because you can't help but think about work. Think about, well, I hope they're not doing well if I'm not there. And then when you are there and you've gone for your dinner, you're not making money, so then you start to sort of skip dinner. Because if you're eating dinner and then there's a customer and you miss them, that's potential money out of your ass pocket. Yeah. Then obviously, people in the motor trade will know exactly where I'm coming from when I say that. The pay packet that used to change all the time. Oh, but it's to benefit you. No, it's fucking not. Stop. It's stupid. I've just worked it out. I've got to sell another 10 more cars to make the same money. How does that benefit me? Oh, well, because... And then they try and spin stuff on you. And it got to the point where I was so sick and tired of... I remember no word of a lie, they changed the pay packet that much, I had to sell double the amount of cars to make the same money. Hang on a minute, how's that been for me? Because it turned from what you would earn on profit overall as a car to getting paid individually on cars, but you'd only get paid a £5 per car for like the first 10 or 12 cars, and then it went at £5 up each car after that. So can you imagine only selling 10 cars in a month and getting paid £100 to sell 10 cars? It wouldn't matter if the company made £1,000 per car or lost £1,000 per car, you were still getting paid £10 a car, whatever it was at the time. Because your basic went up, you see. Oh yeah, but your basic's gone up. Yeah, but I'm still losing money. Yeah, but what it is, what's that? Oh, I've got to take this car. So the managers, like obviously the managers, bless them, they had to try and fight to keep the staff and like bullshit the staff into going, oh no, it is better for you. So at one point it was catering the people who would sell the fewer cars because they don't want to pay the big bucks to the people who sell the bigger cars, the bigger number of cars. But yeah, but I, without blowing my own trumpet, I was very successful at the job. In the area, I was one of the most high number of selling cars salesperson. I was the biggest earner in the garage I worked at, barring the dealer principal. And my money, like my commission, because I was that, because I sold that many cars, if I was on holiday, I would earn more than the people who were actually there selling cars, because my commission worked out decent overall. But yeah, it got to the point where I felt the motor trade was going into a massive decline. You were getting people in that were like meeters and greeters and then test drivers, and so you'd have to. So it was taking the personal touch away from being a salesman and selling that, meeting that person and going through the whole process with them and making sure they're happy with the product that they got, the service that they got, and then drive away happy. Because I'm a very, very organised person, I would ensure that me selling the car to the customers, like I would leave no stone unturned. I'd go to the nth degree to, like, because I'm very anal, so like I'd want to make sure there's 2 keys there, there's a book pack there, the service history is full, it's up to date, it's this and the other. So sometimes if the service history wasn't there, I'd go around and ring all the garages in my area because I knew where the car was from, because of the reg, you knew where the car was from, especially if it's a local car. And if the service history was missing, I'd ring up and get the service history and make sure I get the book stamped up. And what you want to do is alleviate any problems up front. The less problem the customer looks for now is the less problems to bring back to you in the future. If you leave all the stones, if you leave anything to chance and you don't do what you've agreed to do, or there's a couple of scratches that have been missed, but let's leave that. I would get them polished out or touching or something. I'd make sure that car is as perfect as it can be for its age and miles and stuff. Obviously, we never sold cars that had astronomical miles, moon miles and back, because I worked for a big company. But if there was a car that was on the lower end of the budget or cheap car run around, I'd still make it look as presentable and as nice as you can to be acceptable. Because, like I say, if they find one problem, they'll find 10. However, if you bring everything to as best as you can, the less problems to find, the less problems you have. And no one could get that. Why are you selling so many cars? How come you're so organised? I was like, I tell them, but then they wouldn't take any notice. Like, it's so obvious. because obviously you don't want to deal with issues or problems because that takes you away from the next customer, you know. But yeah, it got to a point where you were just selling too many cars. It just wasn't worth it anymore. But like, so for example, when you go and back in the day when I was selling, you go and meet, you know, we'd speak on the forecourt, we'd look at the car you're interested in, we'd take some details, we'd go for a test drive, we appraise the vehicle if you've got a part exchange, we go through the new offer on the vehicle, however you like to pay for it. There is options in there that legally we have to offer because we're regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority, that you were made aware of certain things, what it would cost, once you're happy, organise a day to pick it up, and the car already pick it up, swap your car or no car, whatever, and then take it, simple as that. But now you go to a dealership, you've got to speak to one person who pass you on to another person who then says, yes, come to the dealership and meet up with you. Then you meet up with them, then they go, right, well, I'm not going to take you for a test drive, that's someone else's job. So then you sit with someone else who takes you for a test drive, then that someone else hands you over to someone else who wants the money, like the finance side of things. So then you meet up with that person and then discusses what the finance is going to be or what the financial options are. And then that person then organises a day for you to collect the car, and then you come and pick the car off someone else. So who do I speak to? Sorry, I've just gone through 4 different people. Meet and greeter, test driver, finance person, handover specialist, 4 different people. So then the personal touch is gone. So then the person who's a meet and greeter, if you know, if there's a difficult conversation we've been had, or not difficult conversation I should say, but more of a, there's been some issue, or well, this wasn't described as this and you said that, and whatever it may be, because people don't take notice of certain things. So what I do with, like, once again, I'm very observationalist, is that a word? Anyway, I'm very observational, so I notice a lot of things, little intricacies in certain things. Anyway, but when you are speaking to one person and then they hand you over to to a test driver, like, fucking, I'll get rid of them. And then the test driver's like, oh yeah, just drive the car, yeah. Oh, so what's this? The test driver's like, well, I don't know, you just drive the car, aren't you? So they don't get a company car, they don't get commission and stuff like that. They just get a fixed wage. So they're not bothered if you buy a car or not. Or they might get £1 if you sell a car when they hand it over. They couldn't give a fuck. Because then there's no, like I say, when your wages on the line, you're fighting for the customer between salesmen, and you're fighting to get the business and everything. Whereas if there's no incentive, you're like, oh, you take them, I'm not. Oh no, you can take them, I'm not. And then they go out and then nurse about and hide, isn't it? What an absolute joke. So when that person has found a tester over the car, they are happy or whatever, then you've got to hand over the business manager. So the business manager's job would be to get the deal right or whatever. Obviously their wage packet relies a lot heavy on that. Then you've got to hand over the handover specialist. The handover specialist hasn't got a fucking clue what you've just said about, well, I'm not about this doesn't drive right, can you have that checked like this? And then so many things will get lost in the Chinese whispers between these 4 different people. So, obviously not everywhere does that, but the places that do that, I'd be very surprised if it's profitable, and if there's a difference between profitable and running a good business with good customer service and, you know, keeping the customer happy and stuff. I'm not saying the customer's right all the time. Hell no. I've dealt with some of the Motor Republic who were brain dead. That's only some of them, and that's the people I've dealt with, in my opinion. Some unrealistic people. But obviously at the end of the day as well, it's a catch-22, because you just go around test driving all these cars, you know, salesmen are going to get pissed off because it's their job to sell a car. It's not their job to test drive a car, it's their job to sell a car, because that's what they get paid for, and that's what the commission is. But if you go around test driving cars, I couldn't give a fuck. In your eyes, I think, well, that's what they're paid for, you know, that's what they're there for, I'm just going to do this, that and the other, which is fine to a certain degree. But if you're going around with no intention of buying a car, or if you have 7 or 8 different makes and models and all sorts of like, you know, early stages and stuff, then, you know, salesmen will get pissed off because they're not making money. You know, test driving cars doesn't pay the bills, type of thing. So there's a to and fro from that. But that's when it's just about, you know, people doing the research and stuff before they go and buy it. It's not fun going to dealerships, trying all these cars. You just want to get a car at the end of the day. But on the certain side of things, like, I remember I sat with a guy before, and I was new to the industry, and the guy was like, "Oh, I really like this car. I don't know all the process." I was with him for about 45 minutes, an hour, and then he said, "Oh, I want you to do this deal." So I said, "Oh, if I do that deal, you're happy to buy the car?" He went, "Oh yeah, definitely." So I went over to the business manager. Business manager come over, said, "Right, okay, we managed to do this, that, and the other." This was a long time ago. This, that, and the other. We've done what you wanted to do. He went, "Oh, thanks very much. I'll think about that." What? Hello? Hello? What do you mean? You just said if we get there, you're happy. Yeah, but that's what I think, boy. So why have you said that though? Why have you gone through all that? You know, so those sort of things. But when I first started the industry, I had to go through some training, but the first month I was selling, I got salesman a month. Second month didn't, third month did, fourth month didn't, fifth month did, and I started in the August. So I got salesman of the year within the first 5 months, so I was buzzing about that. This was back when you got a plaque, you got a bottle of Moe, you got a bunch of flowers, you could give flowers to customers when they're buying a car. All that went out the window because they were just tightening ropes, taking more and more away from your staff to keep all the profit. I mean, I've got thousands of stories of salesmen getting pinned up by the neck in the office because the managers didn't speak to the customers before they left. People salesmen throwing keys on top of roofs for other people's cars, for other salesmen who've sold the car because they've made that last deal on the last day of the month. That gives them an absolute fortune, and the jealousy in there. So they throw the keys on the roof, and car can't go out because the locksmith can't come. There's horrible people. There's some horrible people in the motor trade. And then there's some really good people who you make really good, nice, close friends with, who are proper down-to-earth people as well. Yeah. Right, I'm at work. Been a pleasure as always. I hope you have a good Friday. Hope you have a good weekend. Stay safe out there, people. Bye-bye.